Hi everybody, I'm Natalie with Missouri Star Quilt Company, and today we have a really fun quilt. It's called Wowza by Material Girlfriends, and it's easier than you think, so let's get started. Okay, so to make this quilt, you're going to need 2 packets of 10-inch squares. You'll need a background, and we've used Essex linen for our background, and you'll need a print. We've used our Kona cotton solids spring-summer collection for our print, but you can use any print that you like. Then you're going to have some fabric for your borders. We did a little 1.5-inch border here and a 5-inch outer border, and so they're actually opposite. We've used this Kona cotton from the pack, and we matched our Essex outer border to our background, so that's what we used here. So for our inner border, we need 1/2 yard. For our outer border, it's 5 inches. We need 1.25 yards, and then your binding is just 3/4 yard. And then we use this beautiful backing. It's a 108, and so you only need a 1 2/3 of 108, but if you wanted to use regular yardage, you would need 3.5 yards of regular 45. But check out this backing. It turned out so great. It looks amazing with the front. Everything just blends. It's super fun. This is one of those fabrics that goes pretty much with everything, and it is it's called Kaleidoscope Parade Multi by Annabelle Wrigley for Wyndham. So it's beautiful fabric. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do, this whole quilt is made using 24 lights and 24 darks. And we're gonna put them together in pairs, and then you end up getting 2 blocks from each set of pairs, and that is part of what makes it look so cool. All right, so I've got a pair from my print and from my background. I'm actually gonna stack them together because I find that I like to do things that make it so that I get to cut a few less times. If I can get more done with one cut, I'm all for it. So the first cut you're gonna make is a 3.5-inch strip, and I'm just gonna use this, so these cuts all add up to 9 inches, so you have enough to trim off all of your little pinked edges if you want to. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut a little bit in from the edge so that I can trim that after. So I've got 1, 2, 3.5. And I'm gonna flip that around and cut off my little pinked edge because it's not that big of a deal, but it can get in the way a bit. All right, then I'm gonna cut a 3-inch and one more 3-inch. So you have very little waste with this one. So these two, well, let's do the first. We'll do this first one first. So this turns into 2 3.5-inch squares and then 1 3-inch square. So again, I'm going to cut a little bit in so that I can trim off that pinked edge. And we're doing 3.5. So we'll hold on to those. And then this one is also 3.5 square. And then this one is just a cute little 3-inch square. All right, then these two, I'm gonna turn them. And you can do this any way you want to, but I'm gonna cut 5.5 first. So these end up being 3 by 5.5, and I'm gonna flip that around and trim off the little, 5.5. Flip that around and trim off my little pinked edges. Oops, very tiny little shaving, and set those up here. Just gonna make sure that one's, okay, good, yep. And then these two are also just little 3-inch squares. So as long as your fabric hasn't moved, mine shifted a little bit, you can just line that up and cut them, and this is all the waste you have for the whole thing. So it's pretty efficient. I like the use of fabric. So we're going to set aside our 3-inch squares and our 3 by 5.5-inch strips, and we are going to take our 3.5-inch squares and make some half square triangles. So what I'm going to do is flip these over. I'm going to grab my ruler and a pencil and draw a line from corner to corner. You can use a pen, it doesn't matter, because this part we're going to cut right through it. So don't get too hung up on what type of pen or pencil you use. I find ballpoint is pretty easy. It rolls and does a good job. But I mean, you could even use a permanent marker if you wanted to, because nobody will see it. All right, we're going to stitch on both sides of both lines, 1/4 inch away from our center line, to get 4 half square triangles. So if you're wanting to use your diagonal seam tape to do a seam on the next to the center, instead of going right down the center, you're going to scoot it over and line it up with the black 1/4 inch line on either side of the middle. And that way your stitch is going to still line up with the red line, and you'll be able to get 1/4 inch on either side of your drawn line. So that is what I'm going to do. This one through as well. Almost done. There you go. New machines always get me a little bit. There we go. All right. I'm going to go ahead and cut these apart. And they're going to be squared to 3 inches. You have to be a little bit gentle with your Essex linen, and if you're nervous about it, because it does have a little bit more stretch than your typical quilter's cotton, you could use starch if you wanted to, but I try to just take it easy and be gentle and not pull too hard in any direction. The safety here is that we're going to be squaring these up, so even if they look a little bit warped when you're pressing them, it's okay, we're going to fix it. All right, so if you wanted to, you could trim these up to 3 inches with your Clearly Perfect. I'm going to use the block lock here. So we are looking for a good 3-inch square, and you've got plenty of room to make these just perfect. I love squaring a block. It's so satisfying how, you know, it just cleans them right up and they just look amazing. Let's see. All right. Slide that down. There we go. All right, so again, you're just lining the notched edge up with the seam of your half square triangle. And I always do my first cut with the whole thing just kind of centered, so you're not trying to cut up to any edge, because you know, sometimes you have a good straight edge, but not always. So I start off trying to make myself have that nice straight edge. Then I just flip the whole thing around and I can slide this ruler down, lining up now with the seam line with the notched line down the center, which is really the same as your 45-degree angle line. And then also lining it up with the 3-inch marks on my ruler, going both directions to make sure I've got a perfect square. Okay, so now the hard part is done, and we just get to lay these out and make all of these fun blocks. So we're going to start with our strips here, and we lay them out because we end up making 2 sets, and then the blocks both come out at the same time. So these are going to go this way, I believe. Let me just refer to my diagram to make sure. Yep, I got that right. And then these ones go this way. So whichever direction, like your fabrics just need to opposite touch, if that helps as like a little hack. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch these together. And then we'll go from there and lay out the whole thing. All right, so I've got this one stitched and I have a few more that are already done. So I'm going to take these and set them aside and we will bring these out. So these are these pieces. And then what we're going to do is we're going to spin one of these around, and then in between here, we're going to swap and we'll add in our little colored piece to the middle. And then our little squares, and that is the whole block. It's so cool. It goes together really neat. So this one flips, and then these two end up being like this. So you have all the pieces you need to make 2 blocks. So I've got these stitched together here. And actually, I think I can just show you the finished blocks. I'm not even sure I need to, I could throw these in for sure here. The beauty of having your step outs made ahead of time. You guys should get one of these. It's kind of cool. It's like one of those kitchens on the cooking show where all the ingredients are all made up. All right, so then you're just putting this together in rows of 3 and you've got your quilt done. And this pattern is so cool because it comes with 4 pages of layouts. There's so many different ways that this quilt can be put together. And the blocks are just fun and easy to make. I think it would look great in pretty much anything. But you can see that, you know, they're all mixed up. So we make all the blocks before we put the quilt together. And then you choose your layout. And I'll show you in the pattern, it comes with all of these great options. So literally page after page of ideas for how this can be put together. And I chose this one. It's actually on page 5 of the Material Girlfriends pattern. And I just thought it was so cute. So you can do anything you want with them. But this one comes together with different rows of, you know, the background and then the print. And then it kind of has this part in the middle. So it just looks very cool. But you can see, so here's this block here in the quilt. And then its little matcher, the pink one, it's down here. Looks really cute. So this quilt, you end up, because you use 24 of each print, or a print and background each, you're going to end up making 48 blocks. And so we've got a 6 by 8 layout. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we added our 1.5 inch inner border, our 5-inch outer border. I've machine quilted it with time warp, and you can see that on the backing here. I don't know if it's easier back or front, but the backing looks just great. It's beautiful colors. They match really well with this spring summer Kona palette. The quilt ends up being 56 by 71, which is just perfect for a lap. It's kind of like a toddler bed size quilt, so perfect if you have one in that stage. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the Wowza Quilt from the Material Girlfriends and me from Missouri Star Quilt Company. See you next time. Thank you so much for joining me for this video today. I hope that you enjoyed it and that it inspired your creativity. And guys, we're at almost 1 million quilters strong in our community. So So if you know of anybody that you think might like to join us and learn quilting with us, bring them on in, put your arm around them, and tell them to subscribe to our channel so that we can all learn and grow together.